Welcome back to the channel. So in this video, I want to discuss why I am now getting bullish on Bitcoin and on MicroStrategy. About 30 minutes ago, I closed a butterfly that I had opened up on MicroStrategy a few weeks ago. If I show you guys a position here, it was basically this butterfly down here in the trades, 185 and the 70. I basically had sold the $100 puts, bought the $85 puts, sold the $70 puts. And I closed it off for about a gain of $4,300. Now, if I were able to hold on to the position for longer, it would have paid off way a lot more. But from what I've been seeing with MicroStrategy, at least now going into this Monday, it's leading me to believe that we might be seeing an upwards movement coming up. So this was pretty much that structure that I closed off here, the butterfly trade. I have it marked out here in Thinkorswim for us to easily look at it. And, this is what the price pretty much was. I think I might have closed it right before it went up to like 94. Maybe it was like a 93 or something. But the purple line represents today's price. And then obviously the expiration line is represented by the light blue line. And as you could see, I mean, the price kind of came down to $85 and kind of stayed there. I would have made a lot more. Now, I have to apologize. I actually mixed things up. I bought the wings and sold the body. I kind of repeated it the opposite way to you guys when I first read it. But I bought the wings, so I bought as you can see here, I bought the $100 puts, bought the $70 puts, sold the 85s. Now, I do think we're going to get out of this range, which is why I pretty much took the profits on this butterfly trade here. And I put on this particular trade a back ratio. In doing so, what have I done? I've sold the $95 calls. I'm selling the calls that are closest to the money here. And then I'm buying calls that are further out of the money, but I'm buying them at a rate of double that of what I've sold. So I'm still long. I'm essentially long 10 calls naked, right? If you want to look at it like that. Now, why are we pretty much doing this? Well, right now, the implied volatility for MicroStrategy is historically pretty low compared to what it normally is. Now, there is always a call skew on MicroStrategy. You have to always kind of deal with that. But even with that being said, out of the money options on MicroStrategy are a little bit cheaper. So it makes sense for us to, hey, let's sell these options that are at the money practically, almost at the money, and try to buy the ones that are priced in a little bit cheaper here. Normally speaking, since the options that tend to be closer to the money tend to have higher value, and they tend to also decay at a quick rate. I think at the money options have a very aggressive decay rate, again, because they have a lot of juice in them as well. So we put this trade on because as you can kind of see here, if the trade works against us over the coming days here, it goes to 90, 85. Well, first of all, my thesis is dead here, and we lose kind of very little relative to what I want to risk here. Like was like $1,500, let's say, if it drops to $88, right? And if it moves upwards, obviously we're profitable. Now, yes, as the days pass by, you will see this purple line begin to come in lower and lower and lower. Now, do keep in mind, this is a positive Vega trade, as you can see noted right here. So expansion and volatility would help this trade out. So it would be nice to have those like plus 10% days, let's say. That would give, obviously, our trade a big boost, which is also why it's nice to put this ratio of spreads on when volatility is on the lower side of things, which is the situation right now. And the break even on this would be come expiration. If we were to hold it all the way to expiration, which would be September 18, today's August 3rd, we would, 118. So it seems pretty far when you look at it like that, like, wow, that's pretty far. Well, I'm not necessarily looking to hold it till then. If we can get a big move over the course of 1 to 2 weeks here, whether it is to 110, let's say, if we go up, like, let's say we go up a few days here, let's say to next, give you guys an example. Well, today's the 3rd, we go to the 17, we get a move to like 115, 110, there's still obviously profit to be made, a decent chunk, right? And if it goes in a mega run, obviously, as you could see here, you're able to capitalize a lot on that. But let me explain my bull thesis here, right? Well, I think a lot of it came from the news that we got over the last couple of days, in particular the whole cold wallet hack with Cold Card, right? For those of you, I'm sure most of you are aware of this at this point, right? This is one of those cold wallets to store your Bitcoin on. Again, normally seen as the safest way ever to store your crypto. And this might be the first time that there's been a vulnerability of it. Now, I get it. There's a lot of explanations. Well, you know, this company, they did a very poor job in selecting your phrase code and so on, yada, yada, yada. Whatever it might be, it doesn't look great, right? If you want the layman person to use crypto, I mean, to buy crypto, to hold on to crypto, you know, you cannot say, well, yeah, one of the most recommended wallets, they simply had a vulnerability, right? Obviously, the optics are horrible for the space as a whole. The optics are horrible. And if the optics being horrible, you would have expected a much larger drop in Bitcoin, because I was reading all weekend on Twitter, on Reddit, people basically saying, almost to an extent, kind of giving up on the whole idea of Bitcoin and kind of saying, listen, I'm afraid that I'm just simply going to lose my Bitcoin. I'd much rather sell my Bitcoin and buy the ETF as an alternative. I've seen that rhetoric all over the weekend. So obviously it's hurting people. And, you know, we can kind of couple this with, obviously I did not buy Bitcoin, like that might have been the better direct strategy, right? Actually buying Bitcoin if I feel like Bitcoin is actually handling bad news very well right now, which I think it is handling it very well right now. I've got into MicroStrategy because MicroStrategy, I feel like it has been also showing us strength in light of bad news. And I think the bad news of MicroStrategy has been the fact that they have not been buying Bitcoin. They've actually been net sellers of Bitcoin for the past month. We just got a report a couple hours ago this morning that once again they sold more Bitcoin last week. Now let's remember something. When Michael Saylor first sold just a tiny bit of Bitcoin back here, what was it? Probably the beginning of June, right? Somewhere here in June, like it completely sent the price of Bitcoin down. It sent the price of MicroStrategy down. Like it looked bad. Again, the optics were being hurt because MicroStrategy was seen as the last buyer of Bitcoin, that they're there every single week, they're buying Bitcoin. And if you want to have exposure to Bitcoin, that's where you want to be. That story has changed for the past month, much of it due to the fact of, you know, their exposure with Stretch here. And the fact that it's been off par now for quite some time, going on 2 months now. We could actually see today it's having a good bounce back, but MicroStrategy is actively buying Stretch to try to push it back up. But with all that, it's actually also, see, this I did not notice prior to putting my video on, but Stretch actually managed to cross over 90 for the first time in over a month now, a month and a half. So that also is a positive development. But since I'm seeing Bitcoin handling negative news well, again, the negative news being the whole cold wallet hack, which is a big deal. The fact that it's handling that news well, it's not cascading the stock. And then second of all, one of the biggest holders of Bitcoin, MicroStrategy, it's kind of staying range bound here. I mean, you know, nothing's really shaking it off right now. It's not heading downwards. It was looking like it was gapping up lower today, which it was. It was gapping up lower and then it got completely bought up. This to me is positive. Bitcoin, the sentiment there, again, the sentiment looks bad for Bitcoin, but the price is going upwards. We want to see that. That's what we want to be seeing. And MicroStrategy, again, a lot of shareholders are not happy about the fact that Bitcoin is not being purchased, it's being sold. And then second of all, they've also actively been selling, diluting shareholders to raise more dollars, much to just have a reserve for their Stretch holders. So that is why I've pretty much gotten bullish on Bitcoin and on MicroStrategy for the time being. That's why I got out of that butterfly trade, since that butterfly trade kind of, you know, I had to make sure it stayed within those wings. And I do feel that, hey, we might have an actual fair chance here of actually breaking out of those wings and heading up higher. And I put on that ratio spread, as I showed you guys here. Where's the ratio spread? Again, just notice the quantities here. Where is it? Basically, you can see here, right? So I'm selling the $95 call, and then I'm buying two 105 calls, and I have 10 of those type of contracts, right? So 10 times 2, which means I'm pretty much long 20 105 calls, and I'm short 10 $95 calls. And then yes, by the way, I can't sit in this position forever, right? Because if I sit in this position, let's say come the last week of expiration, see what happens here, right? If price is chilling at $100, 104, I'm taking a big loss here relative to what I want to be risking, right? So if I see any chance of price being in this valley, it's got to be cut, which also means I got to cut it earlier than that, right? If we back it up a whole week prior to that, this looks like you could tolerate this a lot more. Still, the loss is way greater than it should be, than I want it to be, which means, again, I got to manage it a little bit earlier, right? We back it up to the 4th. So this is a month from now. A month from now, right? This is much more reasonable. So beginning of September is where I would actually look to make a decision. Okay, what do I want to do with this trade if we're sitting in this valley of 100 to 110 or so? If you have any questions for me, let me know in the comments below. But that is my quick video and my quick thoughts on Bitcoin and on MicroStrategy.